Hello, mathematician. Today we're going to take a look at solving an equation that has fractions in it. So we'll get into it here. So if you take a look, here we have 1/2 y plus 1/3 equals 1/4. It's an equation because there's an equal sign, so we're able to rearrange things and solve for y. There's really two different methods that you could use when you're approaching this problem. So the first one is what we're calling method A. So with that one, essentially you'll be working through the problem with fractions. All the normal procedures will be like usual. You're combining like terms. And then, when we're subtracting 1/3 from both sides, we'll have to find a common denominator so that we can subtract it from that 1/4. But other than that, the process is the same, and that method absolutely works. The method that we're going to take a look at today is what we're calling method B, or fraction busting. So what we mean by that is that here, rather than working through the problem with fractions, we're going to rewrite the equation without fractions. So the first thing that we're going to do is multiply each term by the least common denominator for all the fractions. So in other words, I'm going to take a look at my denominators. So we've got a denominator of 2, 3, and 4. So I need to take a look at those and figure out what's the smallest number that all three of those go into. And so maybe I think, oh, for 2 and 3, 6 would work, but 4 doesn't go into that. So we're thinking, okay, 12. So 2, 3, and 4 will all go into 12 evenly. So that least common denominator for our problem here is 12. So we're going to multiply each term by that value. We'll take a look at that. So we'll multiply this one by 12. If it's helpful, you can write it as 12 over 1. We'll multiply this term by 12. And because it's an equation, what I do to one side, I've got to do to the other side. So we also need to multiply this 1/4 by 12. Now, we're going to show that in-between step just to make sure we're really clear here. So if I multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, I get 12 over 2y. And then here we get 12 over 3. And then on the right-hand side, we get 12 over 4. Now, some of you might not write that in-between step. You might skip straight to this next step here, and that's fine. So now when we simplify those, well, 12 divided by 2, that's just 6. So now I've got 6y. And then for the next one, we've got 12 divided by 3, which is just 4. And we've got 12 divided by 4, which is 3. So that right there is that first step where we're multiplying each term by that least common denominator. And then now we've got an equation to solve without fractions. So then from there, we already did the simplifying part. So our last step is to just go ahead and solve. So now we're just combining like terms. So we've got a 4 to subtract from both sides. And then I'm left with 6y on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have 3 minus 4, which is -1. And then the next part is just to go ahead and divide by 6. We'll go ahead and swap colors. So when I divide both sides by 6, we do get a fraction answer, which is A-OK. And it is a -1/6. So that is how you solve an equation with fractions using the fraction busting method. So again, you find the least common denominator, looking at all of your fractions, and then you multiply that by that number. So we had 12. Once you simplify, you've got an equation without fractions, and then you just solve it as usual. So feel free to try both methods. Both ones are mathematically correct. It's really just a matter of preference. All right, thanks.